Right, Islam family. Welcome back to Sheik Conversations. Tonight's discussion is going to be a very interesting one. We're going to be talking about the oral statements and the prophetic warnings attributed to Prophet Noble Ali. We're speaking about the oral statements that have been passed down among Moorish Americans for literally for generations. These are not necessarily teachings that appear directly in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America or in the Prophet's written literature. Many of these statements come from early members of the temple who said that they personally heard the Prophet Noble Ali's words, and over time they've been preserved as oral tradition. We do have some Moorish researchers, I believe mainly out of Baltimore, that compiled these oral statements over the decades. And so we give honors to those great Moors for preserving the history for us. Tonight we want to explore these statements carefully, not simply repeating them, but examining them through the lens of history, wisdom, and the Prophet's actual teaching. Because if we look into chapter 48 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, it clearly tells us that Prophet Noble Ali came in these modern days to redeem humanity and warn the people of the great wrath that would come upon the earth if mankind continued in error. So the question we want to explore tonight is this: what do the oral traditions tell us about the warnings of our prophet? What do they tell us about what the prophet may have been warning us about, warning his followers? How do we balance oral tradition with verified instruction from the prophet's own literature? We don't want to get misconstrued. If you may know, within the greater Islamic world, within the Sunni and Shiite traditions, they have their own oral statements that are referred to as hadiths, and some of them actually contradict what's in the Quran and revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. So we want to make sure that we don't get off, get sidetracked, get away from the true and divine instruction. So this conversation is for students of Moorish history, believers, skeptics, and anyone who wants a deeper understanding of how memory, prophecy, and tradition function within the Moorish American divine national movement. That's why this discussion is being held between two students of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into it. You know how we do here, no? Islam Moors, we are here. We are live and direct. I want to say gratitude to everyone that is here live with us. Before we get started, before I say anything further, I want to make sure that I rise and give the highest of praise to the Most High, our Father God alive, and extend a high honor to our divine prophet, Noble Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. I extend honors also to the forerunner, our brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for our prophet. And I want to extend honors to all Moorish leadership, past, including us former Supreme Grand Sheik L, and honors to our current Supreme Grand Sheik, Brother Kenu Umar Bey of the Unity Temples. And I want to extend honors to all the faithful Muslims here in attendance. I want to extend honors to all of you, and honors actually to all the light bringers out there watching right now, all the light bringers. And I want to ask you, light bringers, to make sure to hit the like and share button. Hit that like and share button. We're getting started now. This is Sheik Conversations, brought to you by Moorish America, featuring Sheik D, Clement L, and Sheik L, Douglas L, out of Temple 30 in Columbus, Ohio. And we are here to speak with you about this topic, this very intriguing topic, especially, I would say, especially of interest to Moorish Americans. We're going to speak about the oral statements of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, or as it's affectionately referred to within the Moorish community. Many call these the hadiths of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And before I say anything else, just want to say Islam to my brother, Sheik Clement L. Islam, brother.
Islam, brother Sheik.
All right, good to hear from you. I pray all is well with you. How things going, brother?
Likewise, praise Allah. I'm risen, giving all praise to Allah. Highest
Yes.
honors to His Prophet, Noble Drali. Highest honors to all the divinely sent, divinely led prophets. Highest honors of the forerunner of the Prophet Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Highest honors our Supreme Grand Sheik King Umar Bey, all of his staff and officials up in Mecca. Highest honors to you, Grand Sheik Douglas L. Highest honors to all of our staff and officials. Highest honors to all the members, all the Muslims worldwide. Highest honors to all the sympathizers and everybody tuned in. Islam, I am.
Islam, all right. Great having you on here, and especially for this topic, speaking about the oral statements and bringing also some clarity to this topic for the Moors out there. Because, I mean, you'll have Moors from across the board that have heard some of the things. Everyone's heard about the new Moors, coming in the year 2000, all types of things. But there's not really any, like, for the average person that's just hearing this stuff, there's not really any order or structure to that, you know. So I think it'll be great for us to provide that today. And before I say anything else, I'm gonna bring up a screen share. For anyone who's never even heard of this stuff before, you like, well, what's going on? Go to moresinamerica.com. There is an article on there. It's up here on the screen. Hadiths of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, an American prophet. There's actually also a video on this channel about this American prophet, which I'm gonna scroll to really quickly. On our YouTube page, you can make sure that you subscribe, by the way. But yeah, you can just search on the YouTube page if you're able to. Just search Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Actually, you can just search through the videos or search through the live videos. I'm not sure if it was live or in here, but there's a great demonstration about our American prophet. Actually, there's a few on here. American prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali is great, all great demonstrations. But there's one in here in particular, American prophet, discussing the prophethood of Noble Drew Ali, which is great for people from all walks of life, brings clarity to who we are, what we stand on, who our prophet is, and even makes sense of this for people, for foreigners, foreign Muslims, or people with the foreign mindset, people who may be Sunni or Shiite or whatever, and this gives understanding to who we are, where we stand, and why we are unapologetically Moorish American Muslims, and why we can proudly proclaim our own prophet, Noble Drew Ali, who is a prophet of Allah. And we're not stuttering when we say that, right? He is a prophet of Allah. All right. Who is Noble Drew Ali? He is Allah's prophet. So just sharing this great video on there, American Prophethood, discussing the prophethood of Noble Drew Ali. I will make sure to put the link to this video also in the description. That's what the video thumbnail looks like. put the link to that in there, and I also put the link to this article on MoorishamAmerica.com, the Hadiths and Prophecies of Moorish American Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and he goes through all 211 of them. It's a lot of them. I'm off. I said 211. We got how many on here? We have 268 oral statements. Okay, so they're all on there. Great article, moresinamerica.com. That'll be in the video description. Also, check out that video. And I just wanted to say that briefly before we really get things started, brother. And I yield the floor to you, brother. If there's anything you would like to say, please feel free to speak. Otherwise, I have a couple things to say, but brother, I want to yield the floor to you first. Islam.
Islam, I'm just, I already gave my praise and honors. I'm really excited to have this conversation. Prophet Noble Jolly said, "If you doubt that I'm a prophet, watch my prophecies." So we definitely about to get into some things. I know that I have a few to point out that I've actually seen come to fruition, but I'll yell.
Oh, Islam, that's beautiful. I kind of want to just jump into that first, but I guess there's a few other things we could say just to bring people up to speed for those that are just now hearing about this for the first time. But yeah, definitely, man. The prophecies. Now, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, for those that don't know, was here. Um, he was born in 1886. He lived and worked and strived to help to build up our nation and he made the transition. People would say he died. We say he made the transition in 1929. Just to give you an idea of the timeline where he was here in North America working with our people. Now, yeah, he made some statements or some prophecies that have definitely come true that are dealing with the time period that we are living in right here and now. And we will be speaking on that. These statements, as I said earlier, have been passed down verbally from elders and people who were early members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, people who actually met this great brother, Noble Drew Ali. And so it's been passed down through time, and it's been like almost 100. It's been almost 100 years for the date of this broadcast of 2026. So this is before internet and all of that stuff. These things were passed down orally. So this is definitely oral tradition for us. If you see on the website on Moors in America, had this picture up here from the phone game. If you remember, some of us or many of us as children played the game where somebody is given a message and then they pass it down and it's passed down to each child. And by the time it gets down to the next person, the message is possibly totally changed or a lot of things have been left out. Right. So we want to keep that in mind and use caution while we're going through these statements, but also understand that real actual research was done on producing these statements by researchers who spent years of their time physically traveling around the country, meeting, sitting down, and talking and recording their conversations with the elders who were there with the prophet in order to put this together for us. All right. So that is important to keep in mind. And also just wanted to add that context to this because when you're just hearing stuff online, you don't even know where it came from. So just wanted to say that first and, just to give a little context to these things. And it's oral transmission or oral, statements that have been passed down through hand and mouth. Right. So, brother, let's go ahead and get things started up. Where would you like to take this first?
um, yeah, I was scrolling through the PDF version that I have, and I stopped on number 13 from bro J Blakely Bay, and it made me think about 2020, how that went. It made me think about 2008 a little bit, how that went, but mostly 2020 for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And if you wouldn't mind, could you read that out loud for us?
Islam, bro J Blakely Bay said that the holy prophet Noble Drew Ali said, one day every wheel of industry is going to stop, and when they start up again, it will be in the Asiatics' favor. Islam.
Islam. That's a
I,
great one. Definitely.
Islam.
Please feel free to add context to that, brother.
Oh, for me, I was just gonna say, I was in quarantine in 2020 in New York City, uptown. I was uptown on Dykeman when we got quarantined. It was around now. We coming up on that date right now. And it was something to witness all of the wheels, the actual wheels of industry, like oil getting stuck on the ocean, all kind of imports and exports is just getting stuck on the ocean. Nothing is getting docked, and nothing is getting unloaded off of the boats that did get docked. None of the trucks are moving. The supermarkets are not getting groceries. Gas stations are not getting gas. it
Yeah,
was
and then some of
it
that
was
stuff
real,
still going on right now. Like with
and
you still
literally,
have things sitting in those shipping containers. In
absolutely.
some of the ports. So that's a wild one, man. I'm glad you brought that up. Definitely something to think about and listen to more. I mean, we kind of our brother was saying, we kind of just got a little taste of of what it could be like when all the wheels of industry stop. Now, the thing that would probably shock everyone else is the other part of it about when it opens back up or when things do open back up, whose hands it's things are going to be in, right? About it, the wheels of industry being in the Asiatic favor. Now, that's something that I definitely think that's going to throw a lot of people off because nobody's even thinking on that level when they think of our people, thinking of us being the ones in control, running things. Would you like to speculate on that a little bit?
And indeed, Islam, I would say, just with the thought that it was gonna take us up to 100 years or more to understand what the prophet left us, and to really come to a place where we can unfold in our highest form. Yeah, and seeing that, I wouldn't disagree with the thought that where I'm sitting, it's in our hands right now.
Yeah,
I don't the way the world looks right now. If we do what we've been instructed to do, um we good right now. It really is in our hands, and has been in our hands since 2020. To be quite honest, from what I've been noticing, that would actually be 100% true. 100%. Might not look like it, but he also have instructions. It don't matter what it look like.
yeah.
That since 2020, I would have to say it's been life. Life has been good. Life has been good. Praise Allah.
Islam.
Islam, I.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, and I would say, just to add to what you're saying, like it might not look like it, but just in general, generally speaking, when you look at entities like the stock market, all of the bonds, all of these things being traded, you know, finances being generated from that, who do you think holds most of that stuff? Do you think it's Asiatics or other? You know what I'm saying? Like, just generally speaking, to everyone that's listening, it's more than likely we're not the ones holding most of the stocks and bonds and things of this nature. Now, this is I'm not telling anybody not to invest and not to, get paid from that stuff while you can, right? Because you can make money from it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that like we don't hold most of that stuff. Now when the stock market crashed nearly 100 years ago, like 100, but it was almost. Um, people were killing themselves. They were jumping out of windows. Um, and I should have said unalive. Hopefully that doesn't like give us any strikes or anything. But people were doing this, and just in general, once again, I'm generally speaking. For the most part, the people who were offing themselves, they were not Asiatic. The people who were devastated by the market crashing, it wasn't us. And I'm saying this because we're not as invested in that stuff as everybody else. So it's okay for things to crash because it's not going to end forever. It's just going to reset. It's just going to reset, right? And I'm saying this once again, not telling anybody, hey, don't invest, don't make money off it. You can trade, you can do all that stuff and make money. I'm just saying, just like generally speaking, we are the best set up to be able to keep going, and not only keep going, but to strive. To be doing great, to be rising up. You know, when these things happen, which is occurring right before our eyes. All right. I don't want to go on and on about all the negative stuff that's happening, but these changes are happening right before our eyes. I did want to go back up here to statement number 9 from Brother J. Foster Bay, Assistant Grand Sheik of Temple 25 and a member of Temple 4 in the 1920s, said that the Holy Prophet said, when the fire comes, I will be the water. And before I share anything, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, brother.
Islam. That's a that is a powerful hadith and quote of the prophet, especially with where we've been in the last few years. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of actual changes with our water, and you know, I've been thinking about like the practical, like, wow, like there's wildfire somewhere, but like at the same time, the Mississippi was having a drought for a long time, but then California or like Washington, like the West Coast got flooded. You know, it's just really interesting to see how, you know, how nature works and how it pushes us around, and reading it in relation, to the prophet saying, uh it, where is this, where are these elements pushing us physically as a society, as humans in North America, especially because we're the ones dealing with it, even though just now, yesterday or the day before that, volcano in Hawaii erupted, volcano like Mount Vesuvius or something like that is like doing something. So, it's interesting to see, but then we know the metaphorical fire too, and how, you know, the prophet is our water, he's our shield. He brought us our salvation. Islam said the metaphorical fire, he is absolutely the shield, the water for that. Islam, but I yep.
Islam, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many ways to look at it. I mean, yeah, just fire, maybe fires coming, to destroy or to bring about change, and then the water, being the I don't want to say refreshment, but that it's coming to cool things off, to bring us back to balance. And I mean, we could look at that stuff metaphysically too, where water actually symbolizes, like, it's a bridge between the physical and the spiritual, right? So that's the prophet, bringing us to the higher functions of the mind, the subconscious mind, getting us, bringing us to the next level. So when we look at what's going on, I mean, the prophet came. He was born, of course, in 1886. But he came about in a turning point in time when we're looking at the cycles of time, right? He's coming about at the end of the Piscean age, or maybe the beginning or the in between of the Piscean age and the Aquarius. And age of Aquarius, isn't that the water bearer? If I'm not mistaken. mistaken.
Islam,
Correct.
the age of Aquarius is the water bearer. Oddly enough, is an air sign, but the Pisces is actually a water sign, which it represents the two fish and like the water. Islam.
Islam. Can you explain a little bit more what the water bearer even means? Like what's that? You know what's the meaning behind that? Like why is
Islam. I mean, for Aquarius, really is about like from what I perceive and from what I've gathered personally, it's like what they say, like taking something, making something from nothing, or like uh just being like creative. Like Aquarius is like ruled by Uranus. It's like revolutionary thought, un I say untraditional thought, out of the box thinking. Um and when I think about that, when I look at the symbolism of Aquarius, this being with the water on one side pouring to the other side, I think about the technology that we developed to make water, like how we get water out of the air. You know how they can like extract water out of the air from like collecting the humidity. That's pretty
yeah,
much
the
how I
brother,
see
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, the brother. We have some of those in the house, like just to put in the bathroom sometimes to make sure there's no humidity building up in that room, But the brother had like one of those machines in Flint, Michigan.
Islam, indeed, exactly like that, where you can make water out of the air.
Yeah,
That's how I perceive Aquarius, and his device is very Aquarian, and Aquarius is about humanitarianism. So even the fact that he built it and he offers it the way that he does is a humanitarian thing. But that's Aquarius. Pisces being a water sign, like Pisces is like Jesus. Like Pisces is that spiritual, like just the spiritual height is Pisces, is Jesus, is the Christ ideology, Islam.
Islam, Islam. And before we move on, just looking at this fire again, fire and water metaphysically, fire also represents the masculine principle, the yang, um, intellect, and the fire of spirit that burns away falsehood to reveal truth. And it signifies both destructive and chaotic forces. And then going back to the water, once again being the fluid, adaptable, and even feminine aspects of life, and it signifies purification, renewal. Just so there's no, make sure I'm being heard clearly. Renewal and the unexpressed capacities of consciousness. So this is just showing how maybe also the prophet can be speaking to us, letting us know like, okay, there's gonna be some, possibly some chaos, some difficulties in this transition period, but he will be the water, right? So getting into the Islam or the Islamism and learning our true nature, getting on that path that can carry us through this time period that we're going through right now. Islam, that's how I take that, you know, and definitely, just getting having a greater understanding of the prophet, what he's bringing to us to help um, redeem man from his own sinful ways. And just to share on that real quick, with how the prophet can be the water in these times, if we're not just looking at it physically, like destruction, fire, and water, looking at it, to see what meaning we're really supposed to be getting from this and how it could affect everybody. Just look no further than the cover of the Holy Quran, looking at the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, right, and divinely prepared by the noble prophet through Ali, by the guiding of his father God Allah, the great God of the universe, and then what I was trying to quote earlier, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father God Allah. So redeeming us from our sinful and fallen stage, returning us to the highest plane, right? getting us to our true nature and getting us also to our divine purpose so that we can fulfill higher purpose. If we're not fulfilling a higher purpose, we're gonna be fulfilling a purpose. It just may not be your own, plan or purpose. We're fulfilling someone else's plans. We're doing the the we're doing the deeds, of someone else. And I think it's important to know this in this day and time, especially now that we're in an age and a time period where people are addicted to screens, like have to constantly look at a screen and be entertained and doing these things. Like there's a reason for this stuff is to keep your attention on something else. So I think it's really important to be aware of this stuff right now. And just wanted to say that. I want to move forward though, brother. And brother, if there's anything you want to chime in on, just feel free to speak up. But
Islam, gratitude.
Islam, just want to move on to. So I'm not gonna go through all the oral statements. Obviously, there's 260 something, but just want to go through a few of them. And of course, if there's anything people want to mention in the chat, feel free to to chime in the chat or on the comment section. But just want to go through a few. And moving on to number 10, and if there's any that jump out to you, brother, please feel free to chime in. Moors that saw and heard the holy prophet said that he said, "What is all these people doing here? There's only going to be a handful saved. I can count them on my fingers and have fingers left over." And then we had some description for that, saying that the holy prophet was letting the Moors know that when the fire comes that will destroy the wicked at the end of time, there will be so few people left that he could count them on his fingers and have fingers left over. What do you think about that, brother? That's a pretty powerful statement.
Islam, Islam, indeed, powerful indeed, and when you really look at it, one can only strive and hope as that's our beacon light that that we will be living at the highest like I said, living at our highest capability. Islam.
Islam, yeah, definitely, definitely. I hear you on that. And so, I wanted to speak on that end of time statement because we also have that in our Holy Quran in chapter 48. You know what? Maybe we should go to chapter 48. I know watching this that there are people Moors who don't have this information. They've never been to a temple before. They're not really um, don't really know much about what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali bought or why it's important. And then the information that you are hearing or getting from other Moors is stay away from the temple. You don't even know why. You're just going along with the flow. So I do any chance that we get. I want to go to the source for us because these are divine instructions, meaning it's from our Father God Allah through our divine prophet Noble Drew Ali. So let's go in here and go to chapter 48 real quickly. The end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. And I'm not going to read from the first to the 11th verse, but I will just skip through this a little bit. Verse 1: the last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who is prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Now, before I say anything else, you know what? I want to remind you that if you don't have a copy of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, you can get one from our temple. We do have copies of the Quran, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Just go to moorishamericans.com. You see up here on the screen, I will pull it up right here for you so you know what to do. Go to moorishamericans.com and make sure you put the www on there because apparently that's something we need to work on so that you can. Oh, that's the wrong way, man. Okay, www.moorishamericans.com. Okay, and yeah, so when the website comes up, just go to Temple Store. See that at the top, you had a different what's this called? Different tiles or whatever. Click on the buttons. Click on Temple Store, and then you'll see on there the Holy Quran, the Moorish Science Temple of America, and the Quran questionnaire, all in one book. Okay, get that from us, and we will ship that out to you. Just click on Add to Cart. Once you put the shipping info in there, we will calculate the shipping and send that out to you, so you can order that, whether regardless of whether you're a member or not. That is open to the public, to all. And if you're getting this from us, or when you get this from us, you're getting the actual Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It hasn't been changed up. We haven't changed any words or taken out anything the Prophet put in there. That's available to the public. So is the Moorish literature book. These are filled with historical documents and proclamations from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And many of these were published in the Moorish Guide, either by the Prophet himself or while he was editor of the Moorish Guide. So definitely something that all Moorish Americans should have a copy of. And you can also join and proclaim your nationality with us. Just putting that out there for those that would like to get that Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. This isn't just the internet thing, so you can definitely get a real physical copy from us, and you can also learn with us if you'd like to. The information is on the website for our classes on Friday, Holy Day classes, and Sunday school classes. Information's on that website. If you're not located near us in Central Ohio, you can just listen in on them. But going back to chapter 48. So the last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared in due time by Allah to redeem it from their sinful ways, and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Sure to come. And I believe we're in this time, we're seeing these things that it is described by the prophet, this wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Right? Man has not yet been redeemed from the sinful ways. Now, while we are working on this as Moorish American Muslims, just society in general, the wrath is sure to come. All right, and this was stated back in 1928, Morris. Definitely very true for us right here now. So, you know, before I say anything else, brother, I would like to turn the floor over to you. Is there anything you would like to say on chapter 48 before you move back on to the oral statements?
I did have the thought when we was on the last oral statement about the prophet being the water, about our divine constitution and bylaws in Acts 7, where it
All
tells
right.
us
Yeah, let's go to that. Okay, here we go. Divine Constitution and bylaws, Morris.
all Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. And thinking about the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies, thinking about how the prophet was saying, us as a pure and clean nation. And it's kind of why, you know, and it's interesting the way this conversation is flowing because, you know, with the prophet saying things was going to be like after the wheels of industry would come back and things would be in our hands. And if we follow the laws and the instructions as they were handed down to us, what we'll notice is that in chapter 48, when he says, as a pure and clean nation, like that's how between Act 6 and between all of the acts of our divine constitution and bylaws and our divine instructions, our holy and divine instructions, we have everything it takes to be the pure and clean nation that is mentioned in chapter 48. So that is us. That's us fulfilling the prophecy with our actions. It would be our actions of how we can see the fulfillment of a prophecy of Prophet Noble Drew Ali Islam. How you?
Islam, brother. Gratitude for speaking on that. Definitely agree with you there. And For those that don't know, he's speaking about the um, divine constitution and bylaws of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Um, Come in, join, and proclaim with us, and learn more about this. We talk about these, or we discuss these in detail every week, right? Make sure it's understood by us what is necessary, not just to be like be obedient and all these things. No, to actually realize your true potential, because that's what all of this about. When we go to the Holy Quran or the Moorish Science Temple of America, it's not about being a robot. It's about actually fulfilling your true high potential that the Creator is in you, and this is how you unlock that. So it's really a divine message, and actually, it's a universal message, for all of humanity. But in order to bring this message to humanity, we must be the light. We must become the message. We must be living this, because nobody's trying to hear what you have to say. Nobody's trying to follow and just, we have to be able to demonstrate this, and how we live our lives. So that's what it's really about. And so, just, going back to the oral statements, we have some good ones in here. I want to just focus on a couple now. There's some things in here that may sound scary to people. I'm not saying any of this stuff to stoke fear, or stoke the fires, or any of that stuff. But I just want to go through some of these and go through them briefly, and just if you have any words or anything, please feel free to speak up. Number 12, brother B Jones L of Temple 43 heard the holy prophet said, one day they're going to tear down all the churches and take the bells and melt them down and make bullets to fight with. Pretty powerful statement. What do you think about that, brother?
if I, if I'm not mistaken, this has happened multiple times, and just thinking about like the extent that somebody would go uh, to maintain a air of fear, opposed to love. If ones would learn to love instead of hate, that wouldn't be it wouldn't be an issue. Not like it is, because it's all an illusion anyway. But man, that's a serious one. They would and have Islam.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And I mean, like you're saying, if we're not participating in this, we're really living off of our holy and divine principles, which we have every right to. Nobody can make us go around killing and participating in this stuff. If we're real about who we are in our religion, we are free, we are protected when we stand on who we truly are. Just wanted to share that. We can change all of this just by being who we truly are, right? But you can't say that you're not about war and going to kill if you're going out into the streets and killing your own people. Nobody's gonna believe it, right? So just moving on to we covered this one with brother Jacob Blakely Bay, speaking about the wheels of industry being in our hands when they stop and then start back up again, which may be a huge shock to the world, but it's actually something that's happening whether people realize it or not. It may not be why the motivation behind why America is actually being stopped from within. America is being it's like they're trying to tear it down from within, you know. But the motivation is not. I don't believe it's to actually empower us in particular, but that's what it's doing, whether we realize it or not. Now, going to statement 14, Brother J. Blakely Bay said that the Holy Prophet said, if the European be just, they would have an Asiatic vice president. And if they had an Asiatic president, they would have a European vice president. What do you think about this statement, brother?
100% facts, and we saw it happen, and we almost saw it happen twice which I thought was interesting. We'll see what happens with the next one. Islam.
Islam, yeah, definitely. We witnessed that with Obama, and you know what? Like, just for those who are young, because there's some people that are adults that are watching this that were born in the year 2000, you know, or born in 2006 or something like this, and they don't really know what was going on then, right? So just want to share this because back in what 2008, 2007, like that Obama running for president thing kind of just came out of nowhere.
It was
He was a
crazy.
one time, yeah, he was a one time what senator out of Illinois, and it's like we weren't thinking there's gonna be a Asiatic president. We're not even thinking that's a possibility, right? And it just threw everyone off because it doesn't matter what we think, and it doesn't matter what their motivation is for making it happen. It happened. Okay, so this is the route that we are going. We are going this route, whether people like it or not. And you have to understand that the people that are running things have their own script to go off of, and that would be this holy scriptures, right, of the Bible, right? And that's the script that they're going off of. So it's not like they're looking at the Prophet Noble Drew Ali over here and saying, "Oh, we need to make this come true." No, they're not trying to, but they're doing it, even if they're trying not to. All right, it's inevitable. All right, this is the only way that they see fit. That they have to make it happen. So, moving on, we had another brother J. Bay, oral statement said that the Holy Prophet Drew Ali said, "In the year 2000, the Moors will come into their own." Brother, do you have any comments about that?
Islam, I would say, you know, from what I know and from the research that I've been doing, I would say it was probably within 10 years of the year 2000 when I found out the first time anything about the Moorish Assembly of America as an organization. I had saw pictures of the prophet prior to that, but it was probably like 2007, 2008, 2009. Yeah, I would say within in 10 years of 2000 that it started to be like more like prevalent. We had the internet a few years before that. So I think that uh the opening up of the internet contributed to this us coming into our own. It made it a lot different for communications. Islam, but I
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that, and just from my own perspective too. I mean, never heard anything about Moorish Americans, Moorish Science Temple of American Prophet Noble Drew Ali, any of that until like 2002, 2003. I actually, came into this understanding, and a Moorish American showed me a picture of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and started teaching me about this. We're not, Negro, black, and colored. And so, yeah, like, and that just stuck with me. Like, ever since, like, even though I've been through all these different schools of thought, literally, probably every different school of thought of the Asiatic paradigm. What like, but the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish American identity, like that line of descent that stuck with me. Always knew no matter what I was going through, we're Moors. And I would say like definitely is true because that experience is common to so many of us, regardless of what time period they came into it. It was all like in the same, in the 2000s, or for some maybe a little bit before that, for some a little after that. Yeah, definitely, brother. And then with the internet, it just took off and took on a life of its own. And looking at society, seeing how you have several professors now that specialize maybe in African American religions or different topics like that, where they were writing research papers about the Moorish Science Temple of America and about Moorish Americans, and they thought that it was some dead religion, some old you know fad basically from the past. But then they realizing that, oh, what, this thing is actually growing, and you can track and trace it through time and see how it died down to the point where there were almost no Moorish Americans on the scene. There were only a handful, and now it's got to be, and just in the USA, there's got to be over a million of us, right? And just rising every day, more, more and more is realizing who they are. So it's amazing and it's unstoppable. And then all of this is without things like this don't happen without the so-called powers that be putting millions of dollars into mind programming, putting millions of dollars into making sure that they're getting this whatever it is that they want the people to be programmed with. They're getting it taught in the school system. They're putting it on the TV shows, on the videos and the popular videos that get a lot of traction on YouTube and all that. It's like there's a lot of resources that get put behind the programs that people have. So this wasn't getting any financing behind it, and it's growing. It just like took off like wildfire, and it's unstoppable, and it's to the point where there's no putting there's no way that they could put the cap back on this, and make people go back to being, just slaves or whatever we were before we realized we were more. There's no way. So yeah, definitely amazing prophecy. I love that, and it's true 100%. I don't need Europeans or anyone else to confirm the reality of this for me. That would be insane if we did. We can witness it and see it with our own eyes. And we on the grassroots level in the field, so we know this gets no financing, this gets no attention. Even if we're doing great works in our community, there's no one reaching out to us to cover this, to talk about it. Well, who are you? You want to tell the truth about it? You want to bring a bright, light to this? No. But if we did something embarrassing or stupid, the news would be that it's the only way they would cover the Moors. The only way. So all of this is changing now. Because soon the people who are making the decisions on what's getting covered, they're gonna be Asiatics. They're gonna be Moors. All of this is changing. It's changing like rapid fire. And we're here witnessing it and helping it to occur. So, praise Allah for that. And moving on, Sister MTXL Temple 9 said that the Holy Prophet said when the Europeans go back to Europe, the climate would go back to what it used to be. And then some context saying the climate in the United States at one time was a tropical climate before the Europeans came here. I would love to ask what you think about this, and I wish I had that video. There's a video, this guy online, he's great at making these AI videos, and he had one, his name's Original God, where he's like got a video he made where the Europeans are complaining about having to go back to Europe. Great. I guess satire type of video. Great. Wish I could play that. But brother, what are your thoughts on that statement?
Islam, I mean, you know, thinking about how things were in Europe prior to the Renaissance and, you know, all the different technologies that we have brought around the world, I could see, you know, just like the way we like I mentioned the forest fires. One of the last craziest wildfires that we had. in North America was started by somebody in their yard having a gender reveal. Islam, and we did control burns. We know how to uh burn fields or crops, or we know how to bring life back to the land by utilizing the element of fire in a masterful and scientific way. So not to say that we're the only ones that know how to do that, but I can absolutely see, um, that being true. For North America, uh, I can see it being a reality to go back to a more tropical, and we already getting classified as subtropical now. The Northeast, Islam. So yeah.
Islam, and I definitely can see that being true. And I tell you what, like we can see right now humans affecting their climate at a mass scale. I'm thinking about like maybe in the Sahel, the Sahel states in Africa, like in I guess you could say Northwest Africa, like these desert type of arid type climates where they don't get enough rain. And in order to combat that, instead of like putting chemicals in the clouds, like the Europeans will say, the Romans, I should say, would be like, oh, let's just spray the cloud. Let's put these, you know, aluminum and all types of stuff in the clouds or something crazy. They're instead of doing all that crazy mess, they just over the last couple of years have been planting trees, literally. Just planting trees um, across these desert type, areas that don't get any rain. And then doing that, the trees and grass, I guess planting grass and trees starting to sprout, and that makes it rain. The plants, communicate. They send off their own, pheromones and things into the air, and the clouds form and rain falls. And so they're literally terraforming, changing the, climate because they're making this be a place where, in the past, the Europeans say you can't do that. This is the desert area. They're stuck, unless you do some, chemical type thing. But they're making it change just by planting, planting trees, and the rain comes just like that. So, and this is a real thing, and this is happening like in areas like maybe Mali. I don't remember exactly where. I just know it's like in the Northwest Africa type of area, and so they change the whole entire climate. Simple, natural way of doing it, and I'm sure that the concept that we're given, just with the this is the area where it's tropical, where you had a Tropic of Capricorn, Tropic of Cancer. I'm sure that's a limited point of view. That's like a limited Roman perspective on things, you know. So I'm thinking, yeah, like I could definitely see this happening because if you have a certain amount of people who live here who are not doing well in that type of climate and they're all gone, right? But you have people who are out and getting back to nature, growing more crops. Maybe there's a need now for things to change. So I definitely can see that taking place. If you have a large amount of people start moving to the area, and they're coming from a colder climate, harsher, temperatures, whether we realize it or not, we have that type of effect on the environment, right? Because the way that they're living, the way that they're cutting things down, eliminating the trees, eliminating the grass, eliminating that stuff, paving things over. Eventually, that's going to change the whole entire climate. Yeah, so definitely, I can see that happening. And even from the European perspective, they tell us that North America used to be tropical. They'll say when the dinosaurs lived here, but I mean, how can people who haven't been here for millions of years tell us? what it was like 200 million years ago. Like they can't. It's all just theories. So definitely, I can see that maybe not 200 million years ago, maybe not even 200,000, maybe just, you know, 10,000 years ago, it was tropical. I could definitely see that, right? So I agree with you there, brother. Going, man, I would welcome that tropical climate. I would welcome it, especially up here in the Midwest or Northeast or whatever. For Ohio, they say it's the Midwest, but I don't know. I would welcome it though. Along the same line, Sister MTXL said the Holy Prophet told the Moors that before the European came here to the United States that the bananas were large and the grapes were four in hand. It took two men with hand sticks to carry one bunch of grapes. I want to get an image up here on the screen. Here in Ohio, have you ever seen pawpaws before?
I cannot say that I've seen a pawpaw.
Okay, so there's a forest over here in our neighborhood where there's pawpaw trees there, and they grow there. And I've picked some that were ripe and brought them home, and they smell so good, man. They smell like mangoes, like fresh ripe mangoes. They smell better than they taste. I mean, they weren't nasty, but they're like they're the original fruits. And I say this because like you can see how big those seeds are in the middle of them.
Islam.
That's a pawpaw. So the middle of them, yeah, that's how big the seeds used to be in bananas.
Islam,
Have
indeed.
you ever seen the seeds inside of a banana?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I
Absolutely.
remember this. Like, I remember in the '80s as a child, like the banana used to have little black seeds in the middle of it. They were edible, but they were there, right? I remember that. Just like not even that long ago, those bananas, yeah, just these like on the picture. They used to have the black seeds in them. Not like this. I don't remember them being like this, but this is kind of more so like the pawpaw that grows out here in Ohio. But yeah, the bananas had black seeds in the middle, and they weren't this big. Not that I remember, but I remember them actually being like little black seeds that were edible, and like they through I'm not gonna say genetic manipulation because I've actually seen some Asiatic farmers talk about how they make seedless watermelons, and they just breed the ones that have the smaller seeds until they get what they want. So it's not necessarily genetic manipulation. For most of these things, people like to throw that around there, but they just changed it. They cultivated it to get that. And I'm just saying, like, to hear that we had bananas and stuff growing here and tropical fruit is not really that hard to believe because the pawpaws, like, it's good. The seeds are so big that there's not a lot of flesh, but it's good. It's kind of like a cross between the papaya and mango. All right, and yeah, we had like a whole bunch of them. Brought them here, set them on the table. It was summertime. It was getting warmer, getting close to summer. They smelling good. And it's just the seeds take up so much space. You don't really have a lot, but it's also because they haven't been cultivated. But I'm just saying we have those, so it's definitely something to try. Is local fruits. But just saying like that's something that's indigenous to North America, and there are other tropical type of plants and fruits too that grow here in North America, and so it's not really hard to imagine, what the prophet's saying, like being true about like right here, and that's something we take for granted. We ain't thinking about that stuff, but he was saying the bananas were so large, and the grapes. You could only hold four grapes in your hand. It would take two men with hand sticks just to carry one bunch of grapes. All right. And I think that's also speaking about the abundance of the area and just the natural abundance that we have, like when we're living and living maybe a little bit more in tune with nature, not meaning that we're perfect, but just living more in tune with nature. Something that humanity in general, especially here, has been getting further and further away from. There's a lot of people that don't even go outside like for a whole week, right? And so when we're in tune, things change, right? And just wanted to speak on that briefly. But if there's anything you want to say on that, please feel free to chime in, brother.
Islam, I think you covered it, Grand Street.
Islam, the Holy Prophet told the Moors that when destruction comes, he was going to leave enough fine buildings so that his good Moors will be able to enjoy them. Would you like to speak on that? If you want to talk or anything, just chime right on in. Otherwise, I'm just keep going, brother. I want to go
Islam,
through a
I would
few of
say
these. It's not all of them.
Islam. I would say feel free. I'm just the the oral statements and sayings that I'm reading right now is really just you know the echo, not the echoing, but the cement on everything that we're discussing right now,
Islam.
Islam. So feel
Yeah.
free, Islam.
Yeah. And I think anybody, regardless of what your point of view is, your ethnicity, whatever, you can see this stuff and see how it's, coming to pass or true or maybe has already come to pass. Brother Booker, T. Booker Bay, Grand National Treasurer Emeritus, said that the Holy Prophet said, the European will not be able to remove all the wealth from the land. After he goes back to Europe, mountains of gold will be revealed to the Moors. Okay. The Prophet B. Jones L. Temple 2043 heard the Prophet said, children, you are just plain rich. Speaking to the Moorish Americans. Brother J. Blakely Bay said that the Holy Prophet said the European is going to have to pay our people off for the work that they did in slavery and pay off in compound interest. The Holy Prophet told the Moors that one day you will go to the store and there will be soldiers there with guns, with bayonets on them, and they will not let you enter. They will order you to move on. Man, you were speaking about growing up in New York, right? And man, one of the not one of the first times I went to New York, but one of the times I went to New York with my wife, it was like right after 9/11, right?
Wow.
Okay, now this was one of the first times I went. Yeah, so now this was my first time in New York City, right? And it was after 9/11, and you had the soldiers on the street, like I guess it was the National Guard, and they had they didn't have the bayonets on them, but they had the machine guns. They were walking around in the street, and that was wild seeing it because it's like I ain't never been in New York and be there. They were everywhere. They're in Manhattan, all of these places where like tourists are at and stuff, and it's like whoa, whoa, this is crazy, you know. But just with what we're seeing, with the things that happen, like you're speaking about the COVID thing. Can we say COVID now? We're speaking about like that. They took the toilet paper off the shelves. They did, certain things, little experiments, I think, to see how people would react. And you go into the store, and toilet paper was just one thing. It was several things that wouldn't be on the stores, on the shelves, or it would be limited. Like you could only get one of them. You know, so we're seeing these things, and they're playing them out to see how the people react. If the people going to revolt or what? If they could do it smoothly and just keep, you know, making it worse. So these things that may some of these things may sound kind of unbelievable or far out there, but now they're actually in play right now, and they've been happening over the years. All right, so it's here. It's already here. Going on, moving on, brother. I Cook Bay, former Grand Governor, said that the Holy Prophet said one day the Europeans are going to lock the food up in warehouses, put soldiers around them to guard them, and
Hmm.
you will go anywhere he says to get something to eat.
Hmm.
Also, we have the Holy Prophet said he told Sister A. Brown L of Temple 4 and 25, one day the European is going to let you down. You're gonna have to put up a 90-day food supply of food to last you until your brothers come to your rescue from the east. Would you like to speak on this one, brother?
Islam, I would say because I was looking at all of these together, and I'm like, man, if they didn't happen all at the same time, that's very interesting for the prophet to say all of these things to different people, and then they all come at seemingly the same time. Like you mentioned with 2001, seeing them, like you couldn't even get on the train like without like you had to like put your backpack, and they was checking people backpacks. Like you
Yeah,
say, they walking around with like the big stuff. Like New York was like that place. Like it was really like that, and like it was crazy. But then, you know, that was a situation. Now the quarantine 2020, that was just crazy because it's like, wow, like it's not even like that. Like why can't I just walk into the supermarket? What do you mean I have to stand on a line and wait
yeah,
and then put on a mask and do all these things? Like that was really really crazy. So yeah, seeing how these all came to fruition. Even other ones where the prophets say, every word that I speak is spirit, and you Moors have better heat. You know, I say praise Allah for getting the oral statements when I did, and for getting all of our prophets literature when I did, because I can't imagine not having it moving forward through these times. Islam.
Islam, gratitude, brother. I agree with you definitely. Just being able to get those and seeing how some of them come to pass and taking heed. Even like this one with the 90-day food supply and knowing that we have to prepare and that there's no really time to play around because you never know when you're gonna need it. you know. So it's not something that like we could put off. Oh yeah, don't worry about it. Nah, man, because we see these things that are happening. All some of these things are test runs, and some of these things are the examples where you need it. Because some people are in areas that get hit harder than others, and just having these things would have made things a lot easier for you. So it's not something that we could put off. Statement 30: the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali showed Brother B. T. Booker Bay. Her name was Queen Nita. Oh, speaking about, I'm sorry. He showed some of the Moors a spot in Chicago, Illinois, where a Moabite queen ruled from. Islam is Spanish flies it. Islam, Poppy, is that you? I just want to send a shout out to you. I see you in there, Islam. So moving back, um, where Moabite queen ruled from. So he's showing the Moors in the 1920s where a Moabite queen ruled from and waged war with five pharaohs. And at that spot, the Holy Prophet dug into the ground and dug up a metal bar with foreign writing on it. Not really trying to speak on this too much, unless there's something you would like to say, but just showing that even back in that day and time, the Prophet was letting the Moors know that your ancestors have been here. They were here before the slave trade and all that stuff. Pretty wild, pretty crazy because a lot of people are just now starting to come to this realization.
Islam, and really really quick, Grand Sheik, if I may, I think that the prophet's wording there is very telling, because he he called her a Moabite queen, Islam, and it says she waged war against five pharaohs, Islam. So like when we think about, like we were just talking, like you was talking about, the years, we go back through time and see what was the years that, five pharaohs, count them, you know what I mean? For anybody, that's listening. And then, think about uh this queen being considered a Moabite and doing these things from a spot in what we now call Chicago, Illinois. Like we call, you know what I mean? Like that putting these things into perspective like that. Like she was a Moabite and she waged war against 5 pharaohs from North America. Islam, I think that's something to point out for people to kind of like observe on their own. Islam, but I
Islam definitely, and as we take this seriously and do um, our own research from our own perspective, we can actually trace ourselves back through history. So definitely, more work has to be done on this. Not saying that any Moors haven't, any of the studious Moors um, may have been doing this work. So just saying, like, it's incredible because just going to chapter 47 in our Holy Quran, when we really understand what's being explained to us in there, we can trace ourselves back through history and covering everything in North America, North Central, South America, and the Atlantis Islands. We can trace ourselves throughout all of these places. All of the artifacts have been found, some even written in stone or written in different types of metal that verify who we are. And then these same types of artifacts being found throughout North Africa, from Morocco on over to Egypt. We can see that same history that the prophet revealed to us that connected us into our true and divine history, so our hidden history. So it's powerful, brother. Not gonna go all deep into that. Y'all want to get that, come to the temple, learn. Moving on, looking at going on to verse 33, real brief. Sister M. Howe Bay of Temple 19, Flint, Michigan, heard the prophet say one day grass is going to grow up in Detroit. Definitely something that you see now when you go to Detroit. You see so many areas that used to be thriving. Um, Even as late as the 60s and 70s, maybe even as late as the 80s, were thriving and they're done now, like literally ghost towns, you know, where there were buildings and especially where there were houses, it's now abandoned. It's grass growing up, right? And so, yeah, wow, he spoke on that, way before it became a reality. Um, but we see it happening now. We'll just skip around just a little bit. The
Islam Grand Sheik.
Islam, and let's, yeah, yeah.
He has another one where he says, "Look around, and where you see people, one day wild animals will be roaming down the street." I want to say that's mm, number 8. Number 8 from brother G Cook Bay. It says Grand Sheik of Temple One, Chicago, Illinois.
Islam.
And honestly, as you were saying that about Detroit, this was two that I had in my notes that I was saying was the cement. As you were saying that about Detroit, that was the thought. Uh, from 2010, and it's wild because like I've been to Detroit only one time last year. It was my first time, and I've been wanting to go since 2010 when I started to see what they were saying as a result of the 2008 situation. And like it's like wow, like you said, like to see nature take buildings back like that was crazy. It's the first time I ever seen anything like that. But then, and again, fast forward to 2020, when the wheels of the when the wheels of the industry, when the wheels of the world came to a literal screeching halt, in the time that we stopped driving cars and going outside and buses and trains stopped running and airplanes stopped flying, a lot of the wildlife came back even to city streets. Like New York had a lot of different wildlife coming back to the streets. I know a lot of different big major cities witnessed wildlife, fox, deer, all types of birds and things coming back, mallards in Harlem, a lot of crazy stuff. But that actually did happen too. Islam Araya.
Islam, yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely. We've seen these things happening over time and increasing, at an amazing pace. So definitely, I think we are seeing witnessing that stoppage of the wheels of industry. And when you look at places like Detroit, where when Detroit had like maybe 2 million or 3 million or more people living there, the majority of the population, at least what they tell us, was not Asiatic. I believe they bankrupt that place on purpose because you did have a lot of Asiatic people that moved there and able to live a good life, that build for themselves. But regardless of all that, when everybody fled, Detroit became a city that's like 80%, Asiatic. And so when as the wheels of industry, start to um, open back up, it can't be in anyone else's hands except the Asiatics. They're the only ones that's there, and they're taking, back control of their communities. You have people that are involved, and politically involved, civically, where they're taking back control of their own communities, their own neighborhood, and so it's already happening, right? And so it's powerful just that we're here witnessing this, occur. So just just saying that, and agreeing with what you're saying here, that we're actually seeing this happen. So you have like a warning in here that Chicago is doomed and Detroit must go down for what they've done to Aya Prophet. But we're also seeing the re-emergence as well. It's like for people that like know about Detroit, that live there, especially Detroit can be a scary place because of all the things that have happened in extreme poverty, but it's also an amazing place. Amazing things coming out of it happening right now. So just just wanted to say that in brief as we move on, moving forward. I wanted to go down to uh, statement 43, and of course, if there's anything that jumps out to you, as we wrap this up, please feel free to speak up. But Sister M. Lovett Bay, past Grand Governess of Illinois, said that the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, "I placed the ball on Babylon, and it is rolling down. Anyone that gets in the way is going to be ground to powder." And it's saying this relates to anybody interfering with the Moorish Temple of America will be ground to powder. Just wanted to speak on that briefly. Brother I. Cook Bay also said that pardon, other Moors said that the Holy Prophet said, "You tore up everything that was brought to you, but I brought you something that you can't tear up. It will tear you up." He's speaking about the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? So, and just moving forward, I got a couple more. I just wanted to speak on it brief. Um, Number 45 says from Sister A. Brown L. She said, the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, "I'm going to leave the European here just long enough to teach you how to run a government." Just long enough, right? Um, and in alignment with that, Sister M. Peyton Bay in number 52 said that the Prophet told the Moors in Detroit, Michigan, "How would you like to have your own mayor and chief of police?" And the Moors said, "Yes." In that same city, that he asked that, they were blessed to have an Asiatic mayor and the chief of police. Some of these things happen in the prophet's lifetime, as the brother said in the chat. Some of these things, happen right after they've happened already, you know. And even when the prophet was saying these things, some of these things would have been hard to believe to see them actually accomplishing. But when you look at 54, I just think in particular, right? In the late 20s, there were thousands of Moors in the Moorish Science Temple of America. And the Holy Prophet told the Moors, "Membership is going to dwindle down to a handful, but keep the doors open and I will drive the Asiatics in." The Holy Prophet said, "When I drive the Asiatics in, it's going to take 10 secretaries just to write the names down." Brother J. Blakely Bay said, the Holy Prophet said, "When I raise my floodgates, it's going to take 16 secretaries to write down the names." Okay, just wanted to speak on that because while the prophet was here, things were up and running, growing, amazing. A lot of people hyped, excited, involved, and the prophet let the Moors know it's going to dwindle down to the point where it was like it was gone, only a handful. But he said, "Keep the doors open." and he's going to drive the Asiatic sin. And that's important to know because, especially like around the turn of the century, the early 1900s, late 1800s, you had a lot of different movements in the United States of America. You even had utopian communities that were set up where people had an entire community, maybe based off of their religion or whatever their way of life was or whatever they had, and they had their own prophet or whatever they, called their leaders. And no matter how many people they had and how great things were going, they were all fast. They all ended. Most of them, the vast majority of them ended. And it would have looked to the casual observer like this is what the Moorish Science Temple of America was. But look, we're here in 2026, and there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions or more, right? Maybe even multiple millions of Moorish Americans around this country. And it's so big that there's Moorish Americans in Trinidad, Moorish Americans in Jamaica, in the Bahamas, in England, in other countries, right? That are in communication with us and working. And I'm not saying this to try to tell everybody what we're doing. I'm just saying that it's growing and it's real and it's a phenomenon. And yeah, the prophet spoke on all this stuff a long time ago. And I just wanted to say that just to put it in the proper context because, this is like, this is our news media. This is our 2020. This is our university classes where it's being taught properly from people that are qualified to speak on it because, it's not being covered in the mainstream. They're not going to tell you this and they're not going to tell the truth, but it's happening. And the prophet spoke on this, though. He said, watch the newspapers and listen to the radio. I'm going to make the European tell the truth. And if you're paying attention to what's going on, you're seeing a lot of stuff's being revealed, even maybe things that you never thought that they would tell the truth about. It's happening. It's all happening. So, I'm not trying to take up a whole bunch of everyone's time. I just wanted to speak on those. If there are any of the statements that you would like to mention, please, brother, feel free to speak up. I Yeah, that's really all I was thinking about, But I'm sure there's something that you would like to share. Islam, and that's yeah, the
Islam.
floor to you. Islam.
Islam. I would just, you know, like you said, encourage those to uh attend their holy day meetings and their Sunday schools and understand and see like in statement 67, bro, J. Blakely Bay said that the Holy Prophet said it will take 50 years to find out what I brought you. And if you're not careful, 50 years after I'm gone, you won't know that I have been here. And, we got to say highest honors to all of the, the past leaders who have kept the doors open when the membership dwindled down, right? Because this is just showing the force and the ability that having prophecies and oral statements and following these prophecies and oral statements, it just shows what that's like, right?
But
They
yeah,
had
yeah.
instructions,
I
you
just want to
know,
add to what you said, and
Islam.
don't lose your train of thought. Man, those Moors that held fast, that did not, let this dwindle down to nothing. All honors due to them. High honors due to those Moors because, like, they were holding to this when people were calling themselves Negro, calling themselves colored, and Black Power, wearing bell bottoms and afros, and all the different trends and fads and things that we've gone through. They held to it. People would have been looking at them like they're crazy, acting like this is nothing. And while this whole thing was being ignored by the mainstream society, they held to it. So else did. Even Moors who were with the prophet, even Moors who were in leadership with the prophet and knew it was real, because they saw governors and people of high stature honoring the prophet. They knew it was real, but they let it go. They became part of the civil rights movement and all this other stuff. So, like, man, wow. High honors to those ones that kept this, you know, that believed this was real and did not let it go. Islam.
Islam. And you know, as you were saying that, I was just doing the math, looking at it. 50 years after 1929, you know, we we almost didn't know. Like we almost. But, you know, a lot of sense of those who, you know, who he was a prophet. So, we was afforded that. We was honored that way. So, if we looking at that time, 1979, saying, man, in the 10 to 20 years before that, it got a little bit crazy, but the elders kept the doors open, and now exactly the prophecy that's happening is people are being driven in, and don't be forced. Islam, that is another prophecy of the prophets. Don't be
Islam or
forced.
Islam
And I
and
yield with
just
that.
Islam and just to put some emphasis on that. Like in 1979, so 50 years after the prophet made the transition, what were we doing? We were Afro American. What are we? Afro American. What are we? Black. People were doing all types of other stuff that let this go. Ones who knew about it let it go, and they didn't pass it on to their children, to their grandchildren. But we here now, and we not gonna quit. We not gonna let it go. It's not dying out. It's here for real. Go to moorsinamerica.com if you haven't been there yet. Make sure that you like, save, bookmark that page. You can save it on your phone as an app. You can get that book, that Unlocking the Keys book, where we break it down the Quran questionnaire. It's more so like a self-help book to help you realize your high and true potential, regardless of who you are, regardless of where you live, showing it from a Moorish American Muslim perspective. We can help you to connect to your higher self, which is alive within. And that goes to everyone, regardless of what you call God. So make sure you get a copy of that book. Go to moorsinamerica.com, read those wonderful articles on there. Go to the Moors in America. Check out this video about our illustrious prophet. Subscribe to that Moors in America YouTube page. Also on Facebook, there's a Facebook page, there's a Facebook group. Make sure you're in all of those places, because this is one of the few unique places where you get an unapologetically Moorish American Muslim perspective. We're not going to be, trying to make everyone happy and get along, whatever. No, we're coming from an unapologetically Moorish American perspective. There's nothing but pride here, no shame. So you can go there. There's a plethora of videos on there. Check out the playlist, and also make sure that you are subscribed to the Sheik Conversations podcast every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Sheik D, Clement L. And we're going over all issues and topics pertinent to the Moorish American paradigm. So make sure that you are there. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. You can join our greater community where we'll have more question and answers, and just access to more information there. So make sure you there, subscribe, and also join if you're able to. Hit the little bell on there. You don't see it on here, but there'll be a little bell on your phone where you can get the notifications. Sometimes YouTube's playing around with people, not sending them notifications for the video. So make sure you're on there and that you're on there for real. Okay, and on that note, though, we will be back next week with more, 6 p.m. As we break up out of here, brother, is there anything that you would like to share with the people?
Just peace and love, and take heed to the prophets' oral statements and prophecies. Islam.
Islam. Same. That's the same thing I was going to say, brother. So appreciate you. Glad you came on here, and peace and love, everybody. We will
Likewise.
be back next Wednesday. All right. Islam.
Unlock the Keys, a powerful guide to Moorish identity, divine law, and self-mastery. Praised by sheiks and scholars alike, and Moors across the nation are calling it a must-read. Grab your signed copy now at Moorishamerica.com for just $23. Or get the paperback on Amazon, also $23. Prefer digital? The Kindle version is only $3.99.
Don't let your history start at slavery. Join with Moorish Science Temple, a lawfully chartered Islamic organization, and proclaim your nationality while helping us uplift fallen humanity. Founded by American prophet Noble Drew Ali and consistently promoted plans for the betterment of humankind. We are located in Columbus, Ohio. Visit our website www.moorishamericans.com and follow us on social media. We hold live meetings on Zoom every Friday and Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Give us a call at 614-407-4394 if you would like to join or send donations to help us uplift fallen humanity.
Highest quality handmade fezzes. Crafted fez with the finest wool, complete with tassel and leather sweatband. Wear the national headdress of Moorish Americans with pride and respect. 3XL size fez is a comfortable fit for brothers with dreadlocks. Shipping worldwide. Go to moorishfez.com to order.
CareMore is a non-profit organization focused on providing goods and services to families and individuals in our underfunded communities in Central Ohio. We have created an online presence to reach members of our Central Ohio communities, as well as local events and meetings to give away supplies and donations throughout the city all year long. Visit our website to learn more and to send a donation.
Every day, billions of searches are conducted online, therefore it is critical that your company stands out to the small percentage of clients who are essential to your business. Our team of local digital marketing consultants and SEO experts is eager to help your company achieve its goals through a consultative approach, top Google rankings, and collaboration with industry experts. Here at Adept Marketing Solutions, we stand for integrity, dedication, ingenuity, and results. We know how to navigate the ever-changing digital landscape and what brands must do to succeed. Visit our website to see what we can do to help you reach your goals. Fez Caps blends Moorish style with modern streetwear hats. The cutting-edge design features Moorish symbols with a silk tassel on the dome of the cap. More than just a fashion statement, Fez Caps represents something powerful and ancient within you. Go to fezcaps.com to order your Fez Cap now.